appreciate them. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2016, the Notre Dame Global Adaptation Index that measures countries' vulnerability to climate change ranked Uganda the 14th highly vulnerable country and the 48th most unready country to address impacts of climate change out of 181 countries around the world. Climate change is real, and I know most of you understand climate change now, but we see changing patterns in weather conditions or weather patterns. It is evidenced by prolonged droughts, landslides, El Nino, especially in this part of the world, the global south. But in the global north, we see hurricanes. Just the other, I think, was it two weeks ago, we saw hurricane, was it Ida? Hurricane Ida devastating the US, bringing a superpower to its knees. I imagined, I said, if this was in Uganda, we may not recover. It will take us many years to recover. But it devastated that country. We saw a lot of people died actually in New York. I had an opportunity to stay and work in New York. People who, you know, in the US they built from underground, levels down. Those people who are down were completely killed by the floods because the lower levels flooded and people died there. And I thought about my country. But just, there's an island, for some of you also are watching CNN and BBC, that, which is being evacuated because of the volcanic eruption, and lava is running at a rate of 300 meters per hour, and the houses and the whole infrastructure is going to be destroyed. I saw people crying. All that is the impact of climate change. Here we've seen flooding in Bunubicho, we've seen floods in Kasese, River Nyamwamba, which is periodic. We've seen, I've just returned from Mbarara, there is drought and all the crops are dry. River Rizi, which is a lifeline from Mbarara City, which has just been launched last year in July, is drying up. When you turn the tap, you see mud water coming out. Bududa, landslides, we've been following them. The raids that you hear in Karamoja, the resurgence of raids, is because of the environmental scarcities. So this country, we cannot deny about climate change. So we have serious challenge at our hand, and I'm glad that the government, and through you, I have a lot of confidence, Honorable Beatrice Anwa. I think the president made a wise decision to appoint a Mama Mavira. Can we applaud Mama Mavira? Or people forget, because you know COVID, one of the impacts of COVID is memory loss. I thank God I'm still very clever. I have not forgotten, and I have to eat well to make sure I don't lose my memory, because that's all I have. Survival. So we should not forget the contribution of our people. Mama Mavira here worked with us and other partners around this country to save Mavira. If Mavira dies, at least that fight we won, and want to appreciate you. And for you, I think it was also a vote of confidence to be appointed in this ministry. And it's my desire that even you go to another level and take full control of the sector. So today we have this workshop, very important workshop. And the objectives of this workshop are mainly, the main objective is to provide a platform to discuss the integration of climate change in national processes and implementation and gender-inclusive climate change planning and programming. Specifically, the specific objectives include to provide a platform for discussion of climate change integration into national budgets and programs, very important, because as we talk now, even when majority of our citizens depend on natural resources and climate change, the budget to that program now is very small. Shame on us. Number two,
share and discuss the findings of the study on women's land rights and vulnerabilities to climate change in West Nile. And number 3, to provide a platform to discuss and generate proposals for additional climate resilient strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, as an organization and care partners, we have a call for action, and one of the calls for action at this meeting is that Uganda, and of course under the leadership of the government, we need to walk the talk, the environmental talk, by ensuring that climate resilience interventions are not just integrated in its programs, but are also financed. Presently, the government allocates very minimal financial resources to local governments to implement environmental programs, and this trend needs to be reversed. I think last financial year, Chenjojo, it's one of our intervention districts. They were allocated 800,000 for a whole year thing. 800,000, their natural resources department at the district. 800,000. Chenjojo. And you know what is also interesting? I'm told that the hubs that Mbarara University, through Professor Gwang, that they got COVID from, this COVID-X, that they get it from Chenjojo. The hubs are in Chenjojo. So destroy Chenjojo. I imagine some of you have appreciated the COVID-X. I have testimonies of people who had failed to breathe, and when they took it, they breathed. So Chenjojo got 800,000. I'm dramatizing that, but to bring a point home, that under-financing will destroy that actually that sustains life here. So our call for action is that government seriously finances environment and natural resources, especially climate change resilience. And I can also inform that tomorrow, as ACODE, we have a strategic meeting with the new permanent secretary and secretary of the treasury, and this is one of the issues that we are going to discuss with him. I hope he will also have the teeth to bite. What is our second call of action? That government should also streamline coordination of the implementation of climate resilience interventions at both local and national levels. What is disturbing now is that government ministries, agencies, and departments work independent of each other in the implementation of same initiatives, in so doing, duplicating and wasting resources. So the call for action is proper coordination. Honorable Minister, we are advocating for proper coordination of the interventions so that we don't waste time, we don't waste resources, but also don't confuse the communities. My last call for action, this is outside my talking points, is the refugees that have come in this country, but especially Uganda has been praised to have the best refugee policy in the world, but also sometimes a child that is praised for being hardworking can be disadvantaged, because the child becomes pampered instead of going to school, doing homework, he's busy pleasing the mother. By the time they realize other children have advanced in education, this one has failed to study. So it's the same thing as Uganda, praised as having very accommodative, impressive refugee policy, and therefore every refugee comes here, and I know every one of us is a potential refugee, and I have a lot of sympathy for refugees, but we need also to be very conscious that refugees, if you don't plan for them, can destroy the environment. I know the host districts, especially in West Nile, most of the environment, most of the natural resources, wetlands, forests have been destroyed, and water resources. And of course, our refugees in Africa, and most of us are still natural resource dependent. So if we receive refugees without proper planning, so what would and now the Afghanistans are here, the Rwandans are here, have the Burundians, and so forth. But I thought that actually this refugee policy, we must also be able to negotiate burden sharing. Burden sharing, the international community must put money, especially in climate change and climate resilience and adaptation, so that we are able to shoulder the impact of these refugees that are dependent on natural resources. They're stressing the resources. So that's a call for action. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my day. We have key presentations that are researched, but I want to once again welcome you and wish you the best deliberations. At ACODE, we espouse intellectual freedom. You say it as it is, as long as it is evidence-based. So while we are here, let us be free. Let us tackle issues head on to be able to reverse the impact of climate change. I thank you and God bless you.
I was consulting Dr. Arthur, and I was just wondering if Apollo had come, but if he's not yet here, we will quickly move on. That's the Country Director, Care International. But now it gives me great pleasure to invite the Honorable Bika Lawrence Songa, who is the Chair, the Climate Change Committee of Parliament, to come and make his remarks, and thereafter invite the Honorable Minister to speak to us. You're most welcome, Honorable.
The Honorable Minister for State for Environment, who is also the chief guest for this dialogue, the Executive Director for ACODE, the country representative of Care International, representatives from civil society, government, academia, and private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bika Lawrence Songa, Member of Parliament for Ura County in Zombo District in West Nile. And in Parliament, I'm also the chairperson of the Climate Change Committee since 2019. And I'm also the chair of the West Nile Parliamentary Caucus. So anything you're doing in West Nile should be with us also. We should know about it. I want to, first of all, thank ACODE and CARE and other civil society organizations. Of course, our acting commissioner, climate change department, and also Commissioner Water and Environment. They did a lot of work to see that issues to do with climate change, environment, is really handled by the different sectors of the economy. Before I invite the chief guest, I would like to make the following remarks. Number one, I would like to thank all of you for working hard to see that we have a climate change law in Uganda for the first time. This law was passed and it was acceded to by the president. And now what is remaining is for the minister to announce the commencement date, develop the regulations, and then we go into the details of what is in the act to see that the different sectors of the economy play their roles. Climate change resilience is really a challenge, and especially in a country like Uganda, where the economy is climate change dependent. And our economy being agro-based, and you are aware, 68% of this agro-based sector, the people in agro-based sector, are actually smallholder farmers. These smallholder farmers are living on less favored lands, areas that are prone to climate change disasters, areas that had been under monoculture for very long, areas that are having declining soil fertility, areas that are highly populated and land is getting fragmented, areas that are recovering from conflict, and also areas that are semi-arid and with limited access to technology. For example, technology in post-harvest handling, and we are making a lot of losses. Limited access to electricity or energy to aid processing. So this economy is actually in a less favored area. Now, when you go to the smallholder farmers, you will discover that about 80% of these smallholder farmers are actually women. They're actually women. What has even complicated it is not only climate change. What has even complicated the situation is that the same people in this kind of environment are having high mortality of the women and children under 5 because of poor access to water, sanitation, hygiene, nutrition, and energy for cooking and lighting. As a result, when a kid is sick, when a baby is sick and admitted in the hospital, this smallholder farmer, the mother, has to go to take care of the kid, and no one is left to do agriculture. The little money they saved from the previous sales is all spent on medical bills. That kind of economy cannot grow. So, as a country, what should we address first, second, third, and fourth? These are the priorities if we really want to build the resilience of our people. We must address the related issues that affect the economy but also the livelihood of our people. And this, I thought, is very important. Finally, all the organizations that are doing work in the areas of climate change in the country, you have a home where, at least in our climate change committee, we are doing our best to interact even with civil society, government, private sector, and also academia. There is no way Uganda is going to report the contribution made to address climate change in the country, whether at the national level, regional, or international level, without quantifying or without consolidating the works done by the different sectors, by the government, civil society, private sector, and academia. That's why we are interacting with all of you, so that we shall talk about you here and also elsewhere. So we shall be calling you in the committee so that you can, with some prepared guidelines, so that you can help to advance some information to government. And it is as the committee to prepare that report, present it to Parliament, and advise Parliament on the way forward, how to address climate change in the country. And in the law which we just passed, we had also put the Climate Change Advisory Committee. This advisory committee is going to be people outside government, academia, private sector, civil society. You advise the ministry, or you advise the Minister for Water and Environment, and then the Minister of Water and Environment will now take some of the good views to the Policy Committee on Environment chaired by the Prime Minister. We thought that would bring a lot of inclusive and also involvement of the people. So on the budget, we have put in that law that when the ministries present for us the budget framework papers, unless you put substantial amount of money in that budget to address climate change, that budget is not going to pass. And we are provided for a certificate. You have to, National Planning Authority together, you have to work and see that a certificate is issued along that line. So that is one way to see that we have a budget. We have climate change finance. But also I call for involvement so that members of parliament, the people who are making decisions in the different areas can see that climate change is a priority that should attract some funding. Issues of coordination, I told you earlier that we have a home in the Climate Change Committee where we can talk about this, and we shall bring all sectors of the economy, all the ministries, departments, and agencies, civil society, government, private sector, and academia. So I'm very grateful to be here, and I want to thank you for inviting me, and also wish you a very good deliberations and the reports share with us since we are starting a new budget so that we can capture some of those very important insights. With these few words, I want to take this opportunity now to invite the chief guest, who is none other than the Minister for Water and Environment in charge of environment. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. My audio. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Dr. Arthur, the country representative, my officials from the ministry, Dr. Kalisa and Commissioner, the civil society, academia, of course my chair, who is my friend, I've come a long way. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody's cold, and I said, good morning. Good morning. I see my sister there coiling up. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to be here, and I will always be happy to be in such a gathering. I'm not a stranger. I'm always part and parcel of this, but more so, I'm more passionate about this. Even if I have other commitments, I will rather want to listen to this dialogue. So thank you for inviting me. Arthur was my longtime friend in the struggle. And the many of you, apart from maybe the few young ones whom I don't seem to know. The effect of climate change is real. You're saying it has already entered this room. It's upon you and me to make it happen. It starts from you and me. Because as the Baganda say, I'm not a Muganda, but I seem to know more of their proverbs. Though it is also in my language. Salumanya ne nalumanya. Whether you knew how the effect of climate change came about or not, you will also suffer it. So we are all feeling it. So why should we place it in the hands of somebody else when it is you and me who's going to have the effect? I would want soon to come to such a meeting and I find no plastic. When I hear you guys, everybody is carrying some sort of recycled, some water bottle, rather than this plastic. You're talking of Rizzi, who were there with you, and you saw the floating bottles. It all adds up again, you and me. Where is this one going to be deposited? We shall drink the water and leave it on the table. I think we have talked enough, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just beginning from myself, then I will go and make for government. It is me. I would want to hear such meetings say, the action point 1, 2. Don't make so many. Give it a time frame, and let's go for it. So that one by one we build. But if we make it so broad, and we make it so general, it's going to be business as usual. I would want such meetings, Arthur, to be taken in Mavira, Kinawataka, as we are talking and say, you see, look. And everybody gets angry. We must make people angry. If you're not angry, you are relaxed, you're feeling cold. When you're angry, the blood will start boiling. Even the veins will start coming out. And it will call you to act, either negatively or not. But you would have made a statement. You would have shown who you are. So the fight of climate change effects, ladies and gentlemen, is one of those that all of us will be called to account. Don't point a finger at Anywa, even the Mama Mabira thing. It was you and me. For me, I was just a flag bearer. I just raised the flag. And people got angry. People are willing to die. If I ask you here, how many are willing to die for the for the caveras and plastics around the country? We see many people we did that. And I want to comfort you, colleagues, that for the first time, I think, unlike when we used to run up and down looking for political will, this time we have plenty of a political will. And I thought that should comfort us as we sit here. You know what it means to have a political will? After you saw how we were trying to run where it matters most to get the stamp, some people ended up in Luzira. But now the political will is on the table. I want to tell you guys, His Excellency the President, when I presented my report, he literally wrote his response. I'm not privileged to give you the details until he's about to address the nation on that. But he gave it in writing, and the title was to support the report. And he made directives. And one of the directives is that people must be evicted from the wetlands, from the forests. You can't clap for this. We are talking about the effect of climate change. He made a directive. You saw me address the press. And I was more confident than those days when I would look around whether I'm not going to be taken. And I'm talking to you more confidently because I have a backing. Their political will is key. And that's where I have very high hope. From yesterday, the same report I'm presenting to the people's representatives, and that is Parliament. Chair, I'm happy that you are still the chair of that committee because, as you are aware, Parliament is a new parliament with new membership. Most of them are first-timer. They need to go into details of this, to guide them quickly to catch up, because time will not wait for the effect of climate change. Please do us a favor and engage more of the workshops through the speaker, as you were aware, directed yesterday, so that our members appreciate this quickly. Appreciate it, get annoyed, and do the needful. To emphasize on that, the president declared a war. She did not just respond. He declared the war on saving the environment. And he's the commander-in-chief of that war. For him, he has taken it as a war, and we are strategizing as soldiers going to the front. He's about to shoot the first bullet. The underground work is being done. A sub-cabinet committee was formed. 10 years of restoration for the degraded environment, headed by none other than the first Deputy Prime Minister, Right Honorable Kadaga. And we have been meeting every week. The underground work is being done. Soon, you'll see the bullets. The goodwill, on that day in my report, we requested for funds. Because one of the concerns here is how are we really integrating our fight of climate change in the budget? How is it being reflected? I'm happy to report that in my paper I presented to Cabinet, we requested, because as you are aware, effect of COVID, 40% was cut across all the ministries, and we are not spared. But after my presentation, it was reinstated. Whether your clothes is needed or something, you need to do everything possible. Put out fire. These are some of my comfort zone, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I keep on repeating on making people angry. And a long time ago, I had said, no one is going to fight your war. If you don't make this war yours, fellow countrymen and fellow countrywomen, then we are not going to win this war. Sit down, see the effect of climate change on the future of your children, then tell yourself, this is unacceptable. Tell yourself, no. Calm down and say, what should I do about this? Get angry, put on the combat, and become a watchman. Do everything possible. Even reporting those who are degrading the environment is good. We're going to put hotlines. I do get a lot of reporting. But we are going to make public hotlines. Even if you're walking by the roadside and you see somebody throwing this bottle through the window, get the number plate. Start hooting. Many of you have traveled abroad. You don't see this. You don't see it. Even a child will just say, hey, 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 pick it. It doesn't happen here. I get embarrassed when I fly in KLM. As you are landing in Rwanda, they tell them, please leave all the plastics on the aircraft. It is not allowed in Rwanda. So the plane leaves Rwanda with the left plastics. Where does it come to? To Uganda. When we are landing here, please carry all your plastics and dump it in Uganda, including the ones of the Rwandese, which was left on the plane. Can't you get annoyed? Let's get angry. Guys, one secret we don't know that Uganda is the most blessed country. We don't know that. We don't know this, colleagues. When I'm flying and I see what is in Egypt and other, we were in Egypt. We went to a place, there is no green. But these guys are trying to push even pipes under the soil, the sand. It's no longer soil. There's no soil in most parts. In the soil, so that water can be dripping. And water from where? From where? And the Nile is what? That is part of us. And we are able to get fruits. We even import them without shame. Get angry. I'm here to make you get angry. To make Ugandans get angry. The president said, this is a war. We had the issue of refugees, but we are only being Africans. What I want to say is that everything has a positive and negative side. Everything, including breathing in your air. If you do too much, you will suffocate. You know that? If you eat too much, you will just get off-road. So everything has its positive and negative part. The economists taught us to have the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. There are other things people don't know. But I want to tell you that as a ministry, we have already a program of how we are working with the refugees and the refugee hosting communities. UNDP is also giving a hand. By the end of the last parliament, we were able to secure a World Bank fund of about 178 point something to help us in that regards. But there are other benefits. Ugandans, I'm sure other things will happen. Let's not blame everything. Let's get good use of every situation. It might be bad on the surface, but also the other side. But leave alone even the brotherhoodness. Supposing anything happens here, don't you go to the neighbors? Don't you run to the neighborhood? I think Uganda is a warm country. I want also to let you know that my ministry, my agencies, might not yet be visible because it's still a drop in an ocean. We have now different commands. We are trying to change the way we are doing things because people want to hear, how are you dealing with those who have already degraded the environment? We have two fronts. The one front is that we need to ensure that we protect the existing one because the enemy is still going on. And these are not small people, by the way. The poor Ugandans, the best they can do is only to put mayuni. That's all. But the big enemies are the big ones, the big fish. And people want to hear how the big fish are being caught and brought to book. That's the frustration of Ugandans. I don't want to... For us, we have a saying, if you are going to catch some sort of insect, some bird, don't keep on talking about it too much. They will shift. They will shift. But let me say, so far in my ministry, I see the mindset change, which is for me key. The enforcement arm, we have already wanted to reshuffle. There are some who have been there and have created homes for themselves. In the forests, in the wetlands, every day they get lunch and weekend from there. We want them to go and get their weekend from some other source. Because as they get the weekends, Ugandans, the future of Uganda is at stake. So those administratively, we are doing something. NEMA, I'm happy. So far, my new MD has just been there probably 2 weeks, but I have results that is producing. We encourage whistleblowers. Please send me as much as possible. I thank friends from Busega, Kinawataka, Gaba. These are people, ordinary people. Mama mabirori kuchi. Baba nabayiwayo. And we have impounded vehicles. We have impounded vehicles. We have still challenges. I've asked for, actually, whether guys like it or not, we need a whole UPDF. Because I think police will not only fight my war. I need a UPDF. Because most of these are also protected in a big way. We need also to land in a big way. But the biggest UPDF will be you and me. If we make the population angry, aware, and they put on the combat, we shall win this war. We have a program. We shall go out there and have the list of naming and shaming. So the media, our friends, I also want to thank them, really, because I keep on seeing them flashing those bad places. The only thing is that let's attach who are behind that. We have big people, colleagues who are, it is so annoying, so annoying. So to categorize them. Others will be handled by the commander-in-chief. Others will be handled by you and me. I just want to almost conclude by saying the program of tree planting, restoration, please, colleagues, let's be ready for that. Once we have this money, we shall raise the seedlings. But I don't want us to, as Baganda say, just getting comforted that, yes, we are planting many trees, we are planting many trees. You plant a tree. First of all, the word planting is what I don't want. People go and dump this seedling in the soil and they go away. We must grow trees in Uganda. You grow a tree. And the word is growing the tree to maturity. It's like those who produce children and then throw them to the dustbin and expect them to survive. Parents grow their children, nurture them, care for them, and that's how children reflect their parents. Can we be parents? Can we be friends to nature? Can we be friends to trees? Can we be parents? Last weekend I went to my garden and found one of my tree was being eaten up and is falling off. I almost told the gentleman there, I said, if you don't have business here, you better go back to Kisoro. How does this tree wither when you're looking at? That means you keep a close eye on these trees. You are planting one today, but you have cut the one for 50 years. The service the big tree was giving is not the same with the one you're planting. That is a desperate undertaking. That's why I say, can we protect what we have? West Nile, my brother, if you see the lorries coming from there, every day I have phone calls, and you find the people who are responsible are people in the leadership. In the leadership, including members of parliament and ministers. They almost sacked one of my officers before he was even a minister, who was in West Nile. He went and arrested what they were using in the forest, and they framed him until they found the truth is that the big people were cutting the trees, and now they didn't want it to be told. So the fight is on. I can conclude by saying, let's put on the combat. I pray you join us. Me, my office is open. Please, even in the middle of the night, if you hear something, text me. If you ring and I don't pick, please send me a message. I'm on standby, and I'm on standby. My Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency the President, has given me enough energy. I'm now today giving you enough energy. Get angry, join the combat, the war, whatever, and let's save the mother country. Nature is speaking. We must listen for God and my country. Arthur, I just want to also to add you this COVID-X, but I want to say, colleagues, that put one in your bag. You sneeze twice, you put something in the mouth. I'm not a doctor, but a mother, you become a doctor as you deliver. Walk with one in your bag. And when you hear COVID-X is a solution to the world problem, you must know that Uganda, we are blessed for God and my country. I would have given your MC.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mama. Honorable, you also want to say? A round of applause for the Honorable Minister. Mama, thank you very much. I have noticed when you have Mama Mavira. She really comes with a speech. For her, she speaks from her heart, and we want to thank you. And I see why Arthur likes you, because you're very passionate about the environment, and that's an area of his interest outside of the politics. He's also a very interested man in the politics, but he cares for this environment. So ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to mention that this national dialogue is really a consolidation of the efforts of several players in the industry, including our technocrats. The Honourable Minister wanted to mention, we have representation here from the Office of the Prime Minister that coordinates the activities of government and the ministries. We have representation from the Ministry of Health. We have representation of Minister from NEMA, Minister of Tourism, Minister of Finance. In fact, the person who registered it from Minister of Finance, Honourable Minister, said representing the PSST, meaning they're representing the permanent secretary in this meeting. And so our issues of budgeting for climate change, Honourable, I think we are interfacing with the right people. We have representation from NPA, of course, we even have a presentation from the same. We have Minister of Water, Dr. Kalista and other colleagues are here. Ministry of Works is also here, Honourable Minister. And of course, our defenders of the forests, the NFA, are also well represented here. So you can see, Honourable Minister, including our partners, the European Union, who have been represented. To our first presentation on addressing gender vulnerabilities to climate change in Uganda, and invite the Acting Commissioner, Climate Change Department, Mr. Bob Natifu, to come and make his presentation. And then, Bob, if I have some time, we'll take some questions, but I don't want to keep people away from some coffee, and also trying to catch up on the time we lost at the beginning. So over to you, sir. You're most welcome.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Moderator. The Honourable Minister, the Chair of the Parliamentary Committee on Climate Change, all protocols observed. My name is Bob Natif. I'm going to make a very simple and straightforward presentation on the topic that I was given, which is largely around addressing gender vulnerabilities to climate change in Uganda. So, as a ministry, I think maybe let me first emphasize this. The Ministry of Water and Environment Climate Change Department coordinates national climate change response in Uganda. So you may ask what that means. What that means is maybe three or fourfold. That one, we try to monitor emission profiles across the different sectors so that we know what sector it is that is actually emitting these emissions and what we can do about it. We also try to ensure that we support implementation of the climate change policies that have come in place. We have so many things, the Climate Change Policy 2015, we have nationally determined contributions, and so on and so forth. But that's not the subject matter for discussion today. Probably that will come at a later date. So when it comes to gender and climate change, as we try to sort out technology here, my outline is as follows. I'll give a brief introduction of what I understand by gender variations and climate change, but also try to explore in detail what actually that means to the power relations and how communities relate when such circumstances happen. I'll present some kind of 2 key case studies that we've undertaken specifically on gender and climate change, again in summary and in brief. And I'll conclude by giving my thoughts onto what I see as a way forward, going forward to address the gender disparities. So my key take home, in case I talk for long, because they say people only listen to you for the first 5 minutes, my key take home in this presentation is for us to note that any underlying vulnerabilities that we are faced with due to climate change affect gender relations as is. But for us now, gender means not just women per se, but I think men, women, and children. Why do I say that? I say that because to my mother in the village, climate change, if you looked at it in terms of extremes that happen, if there's too much rain or too little rain or none at all those come with extremes. So when there's too much rain, should be faced with floods. When there's too little rain, there are shifting seasons, and therefore even the crop yield will not work out too well. And when there is none at all, it's an expression of how she must respond to drought. So those are the complexities, and also by extension bring power dynamics that communities have to deal with. So in order to understand that fully, are we good? Okay, it seems technology has betrayed us. So I'll just use my printed Okay, finally. So some of these things I've quickly run through, so I'll not go into this. That's just the opening. How do I scroll? So I've given an outline of what my presentation is going to be, basically rotating around those two key areas, minus the conclusion, which is just a personal reflection. So as a way of introduction, I think it's important to note that with those extremes that I've explained, the mechanisms that people undertake, each individual, even societies, how we respond to the climate variability provides us useful insights into how, for example, people always adapt in the short, medium term, and long term. And to illustrate this point, there are 2 key case studies that I'm going to underscore in my presentation, which is a case study that we've done with the Makerere University School of Gender, with the Ministry of Water and Environment, but also a case study with the UNDP, which is bound around engendering climate change, policy initiatives for enhanced adaptive capacity. The second one is the climate change and ICT, which is an initiative that we carried out with the support of FHI 360 and IDRC, and looks at the potential of ICT enhancement to adaptive capacity, not just in Uganda, but we zeroed in on 2 comparative areas between the highland areas and the low-lying areas in the Kato corridor. So what do we mean by gender vulnerabilities to climate change? To fully understand this, I think it's important to have at the back of our minds or define what risk is. Risk, as we all know, is merely defined as a probability of loss which depends on 3 key factors. 1, the hazards that one is faced with. 2, the exposure to those hazards. And 3, the extent to how vulnerable that gentleman is. So in terms of hazards, this is merely characterized by certain events happening, or the magnitude of an event happening, which, for example, could be a flood, in this case, and how that flood now impacts somebody's house which is laid down in the floodplain. So that means that if somebody constructed their house in a floodplain, they will be highly exposed, and it increases the risk and by extension how vulnerable they are. And the more the hazard and exposure, the higher the risk and by extension the vulnerability of a certain component, the vulnerability of that particular society, and it takes a bit of money and changing habits and ideas to ensure that they come out of those challenges that they are faced with. So in terms of hazards, these are the kind of hazards that we are talking about. For example, in terms of drought, you will not be able to grow anything even if you want to. But there are also shifts in seasons. Shifts in seasons means that if you are planning to plant maize for this season and rain doesn't happen at all, then it means that season would have died. And this happens quite often, and it leads to a lot of distortion